first thing though was COVID. We have had a lot of conversations about COVID. Even later in today's show, we're talking with some people from the health department. But it seems like most Americans, when it comes to like vaccine or testing and things like this, a lot of Americans are like, man, I'm good. Tell me about it.
That's very true. So CBS recently did a poll and 70% of Americans said that they would either wait on the vaccine or not even get vaccinated at all. And from a lot of what I've heard from just word on the street is a lot of people, especially people in our community, are speaking like they are hesitant to get that vaccine. And it's understandable. United States government does have a history that goes back to the Tuskegee experiments where they just gave 400 Black men syphilis. It affected their wives, their children. So we know that we can't always trust the government, but if we're going to beat this global pandemic that has shut down our whole world, people have got to be open to the vaccine. It's very important to do. We need at least 70% of people to be vaccinated if we ever want to get to the point of herd immunity so that we can actually get past this thing.
Yeah, I think that like right now, man, good luck with that. You know what I'm saying? There's so many people. So we talk about like in the Black community, right? We talk about the history of, government vaccines, but there's whole other populations, in other communities that as well are against the whole vaccine push. I think that's what's going into that big number that you're getting.
I think that's absolutely true. And I mean, I understand the mistrust. Like I can't sit here and put up an argument to trust government in any form. I would never do that. But when we look at how this pandemic has affected every corner of the world, it feels like in this particular situation, if there ever was a time to trust the vaccine, it will probably be now.
All right, we'll keep an eye on that. Next up, it looks like President Trump has continued his rollback of Obama-era stuff, but this time it's something that kind of maybe hits close to home. But City of Seattle and King County definitely has a soft spot when it comes to affordable housing or trying to get affordable housing or access to neighborhoods and things. This latest rollback was around affordable housing. And also, it seems like, the president was kind of maybe dog whistling or something. Huh?
Absolutely. All of that is true. So the AFFH, Affirmatively Furthering Fair Housing, was something that the Obama administration put in place so that low-income housing could be placed in suburban communities. So this was kind of like anti-segregation, trying to get low-income housing in neighborhoods that were traditionally white. Now that hits close to home in Seattle because with gentrification and outrageous housing prices, outrageous rent prices, people are already being pushed to the suburbs naturally without any of these type of fair housing rules and guidelines. So when we see this, my initial question is, where do they expect people to live? If we can't have affordable housing in the city, we can't have affordable housing in the suburbs, I don't see where they want people to go. And it definitely is more posturing by the Trump administration. He's definitely targeting communities of color with this rhetoric yet again. And this is something that he's done his whole term.
That's really interesting because, the big thing about gentrification across America is really the movement of people of color from the inner cities out to the suburbs. There's very few areas where people are trying to go, into the suburbs and into the city. And I mean, do you think there was a groundswell of support for this action that the president took, or was just something that, was on the checklist, so to speak?
Actually, I would say that it was the opposite. I think the president stepped out and did this because he felt his support was slipping. And a lot of this white supremacist narrative attacking communities of color is something that he's definitely leaned into for his constituency. And I think that that's what we're seeing here.
All right. Last thing is that I have over from the Emerald is Black Education Now rally. This is a local story. It looks like something happening out there in South Seattle, in your neck of the woods, out in Rainier Beach. What's going on?
Absolutely. So this is the work of a local teacher at Garfield High School, Jesse Hagopian, and please forgive me if I mispronounced this brother's name. But
You already said Garfield High School, so we're gonna have to give you a pass, even if you did.
there we go. There we go. And he partnered with a parent. He partnered with King County Equity Now and Decriminalize Seattle. Their idea was to come up with this rally before the August 3rd city council vote to defund police. And they came up with a list of demands and ways that if we defund the police and those funds are reallocated to communities, they got 10 demands that outline how we can create community schooling that will have much more better impacts for students of color.
So I got a curveball question for you. Is that, well, there's a lot of different groups that are like, okay, defund the police and do this, or defund the police and do that. If by chance that, and me personally, on the morning show, I say that I keep my bottle of maple syrup ready because politicians are known to waffle. And we'll see. Everybody's like, it's 7-2. Who knows? We'll see how it plays out. But just hypothetically, if it does play out, they're like, okay, they defund the police. They put this money out there. Who's first in line for all that? I mean, it seems like a lot of people have great ideas of how they want to envision this and that. How would that be sorted out if you know or have a general idea? Because a lot of people have a lot of different demands.
I agree. There are a lot of people with a lot of different demands. Even within city council, there seems to not be consistent messaging over how this should play out. So that is a great question. And I unfortunately do not have an answer to that. I just hope that if we are able to decriminalize or to defund the police, that those funds are allocated to communities. And with this particular rally, they just have a list of demands, and it's a coalition. So there's so many different people and so many different players involved that hopefully somebody will get their hands on some of those funds. But unfortunately, in our city, we do have a history of local government saying one thing and either it never happens or at the last minute, they go in a totally different direction.
All right. Well, I'll bring an extra waffle for you too. And so we'll both have our syrup and waffles on the 3rd. We'll see what happens. Mike, thanks for joining us. If people want to catch up with you guys, tell them to make sure and visit southseattleemerald.com, right?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.